Sage Wanderer here, coming at you from deep inside the New Republic. So what is the New Republic, you might ask? Well, I have some bad news. I bring you some bad tidings, and many of you are going to take this personally, especially since it's almost the 4th of July right now in the year 2020, and we are about to be celebrating the Declaration of Independence and the birth of our nation. But I'm here to chisel in the final numbers on the tombstone of America. I hate to tell you this, but the country as you know it is now dead. America is dead. You just haven't got the notification, and we haven't had the funeral yet. To bring back the country that we used to have, you would have to have a time machine, because they've destroyed our country. It's unsavable. Donald Trump gave it a good try, okay? But what is about to occur will be the end of America as we know it and the beginning of something new. Either way, no matter who wins this Marxist revolutionary takeover, whether the Marxists win or the Patriots win, when the smoke clears, so many changes to the way our country is ran will be made that it will no longer be recognizable as what it once was, as the United States of America. In fact, the end result may be a fractured United States with numerous different countries. But I'm here to tell you that I believe a new republic will be formed, because patriots and the gun-owning Americans, whether they're country folk or like those city slickers there in St. Louis that came out in their fancy Sunday brunch clothes and defended their property against marauders who came into their gated community. You might have seen that. Whether you just bought a gun yesterday to defend against this insanity, or whether you've been training for decades, we are the ones who've been at this longer than the leftists. Leftists think, especially young Antifa members, think you can just give a person an AR or an AK, and now they are a soldier and a warrior, and they will be effective in a fight. And we on the right understand that even an old, boogered up, crippled up, walking with a cane, old gray-headed gentleman like myself, after a lifetime of training in the martial arts, is more dangerous than 5 of your new recruits. We know the truth, that training is an ability outweighs, what is it? Old age and treachery will overcome youth and vigor every time. So, instead of spending my time lately just sitting around gloating that I predicted all of this was going to happen 3 years ago, I've been trying to figure out what happens next. Now, we'll put a little caveat up here. If Jesus comes back and puts an end to all this, then none of it's going to matter anyway. And I'm about 50-50 as whether that's going to happen before any of this can unfold anyhow. But let's just say we're wrong about all that, and let's hedge our bets, I have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C through Z. So let's talk about what happens if Jesus doesn't come back and interrupt all this, and we end up fighting in this country for control of this country. Now, some of this could change if outside forces, Germans, French, United Nations troops, foreign troops come to the aid of either side. It could color the outcome. But either way, one side or the other has got to win. And when they do, then this country will never be the same. It'll never be the old version of America is done for, and we'll be either looking at a new communist, democratic people's republic, or we will be looking at a new constitutional republic, America 2.0, which I'm going to start calling the New Republic. So, if the leftists defeat us, and let me tell you, patriots, armed patriots, are willing to fight to the death to prevent a communist takeover in this country, that we will fight till the very last human is standing on our side. And we will not surrender. We will not lay down. We will not accept a Bolshevik Marxist takeover of this country. You understand that? And so when the fighting really kicks off, and it's kicking off now, I mean, the death toll is starting to get up there just in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Daily shootings, daily deaths, daily assaults, you know, not just on the weekends, all week long, right? And this is just going to continue to escalate until it's open warfare, right? And somebody's got to win. So if the communists win, what always happens, and if you go back and study communist Marxist revolutions and takeovers, and you go back and look at this in history, you'll find out that there's always a struggle. Once they do win, what direction are they going to take it? Most of the time, it goes towards a Marxist dictatorship and tyranny, okay, from a single leader. There's always those who want to, you know, they want to introduce a form of democracy like ancient Greece, where every person got a vote, and they had a democratically elected Senate that made group decisions, right? But that never stands up against a one strong dictator type leader. So that's what will be occurring if the left wins. It won't matter because I won't be here. I'll be dead, because I'll be dead before I let any of that happen, right? You understand? And I'm not alone. There's millions. There's millions of us who would rather die than to see our country turn into this thing that they want to turn it into, okay? My ancestors have fought communism for 100 years. And right at 100 years, we've been fighting communists. And so, at any rate, that's if the communists win. They'll have their little fight to see exactly how bad it's going to be, right? But the era of personal rights and a personal protection under a constitution will be over if the leftists win, okay? Now, what if the patriot side wins? What will that look like? And that's what I've been spending my time thinking about. Instead of getting too mired in watching this unfold, I predicted all of this. I kind of know how it's going to unfold, right? Now what? If we win, if I live to see the day that this communist Marxist revolution is put down, then what do we create to replace the old America? Because we will have to make some changes. You understand that if the right wins, we can't just reinstate the old system, because the left and the communists used the old system and its freedoms, and they abused those freedoms and used the system, the court system especially. You know, they were able to infiltrate the judicial system, okay, and create activist judges. We will have to make changes to stop that. And to me, one of the scariest things of the idea of us overcoming the Marxist and putting down the Marxist revolution is that those who make changes in lieu of that will create something that I also do not like. They will create some kind of right-wing, theocracy-based kind of totalitarian control freak from the right dictatorship. And that those of us who have some gray in our beard, who are sitting now on this precipice of time, that we have to now consider deeply how we restructure, okay? And there's several people doing this. John Mark is pushing a form of Propertarianism on YouTube, and he's getting a lot of traction. And I was with John Mark until I got deeper into his Propertarianism ideology. And I agree with portions of it, but I'm not saying John Mark is a racist. I'm saying the things he is saying encourage a racist point of view. And, you know, the implication in some of his most recent videos are that only white men should vote, and that people of color shouldn't vote, and he tells you why, and that women shouldn't vote. And the reason for the women voting is easy to explain, because he says women vote from their emotion and not from their intellect. And so that sexist, racist point of view is going to be prevalent in the new republic, and it'll be up to men like me who come more from the middle to put our foot down and stand up to this and go, no, we're not taking the vote from women. No, we're not taking the vote from African Americans. No, We're not taking the vote from minorities. White men are not superior, not superior in the way that you think they are. I mean, what am I trying to say? Everybody's got their strengths and everybody's got their weaknesses. How's that? And white men are no different. So they're not going to be, under my watch, the only people who have a say. But at the root of propertarianism is the concept that the people get to make the rules who own the dirt. That's something I can get online with. Now, it doesn't matter if the dirt's owned by an African American or a minority. I mean, think about this. African American businessmen are not happy with what's happening to their commerce in their towns that they live in. You know, that their stores are getting burnt down and they're getting looted and pilfered and destroyed, right? So for me, if we're going to go to a concept that not every person gets to vote, but only people who are responsible leaders get to vote, then it has to be tied to property ownership. If you live in a cardboard box and you can't work out the conundrum of how to shower, shave, acquire clothes, and find some kind of gainful employment, you know, then you shouldn't be telling us how to guide our country, right? If you can't survive in this world, you shouldn't be telling other people how to run the country, right? And that's where that's where we went wrong potentially in building a republic. I mean, I'd like to say that America was perfect, but it clearly wasn't, you know, because it's failed now, hasn't it? And, you know, you may argue that America hasn't failed, but it's done for. You just haven't figured it out yet. So, propertarianism is the idea that if you are a property owner, right, that you get to vote and you get to decide. And it makes sense. If you own the dirt, your ownership gives you the right to vote on the direction of the country. And now, can everybody in the household vote? I mean, there's stuff to work out. Is it just the property owner, you know? I think taxes should be tied not to, I don't think people that work for a living should pay taxes. You know who should pay taxes? Property owners. But for that, they should get the right to vote, and others should be denied that. Because voting is leadership. So this is probably the direction of the new republic. There are going to be those that want to try to preserve the American, the previous version of America, right? I think they'll be outnumbered by people who went, why should we repeat the mistakes that led to this problem? We have to go back and examine the American system and find out where the weak spots are, and we've got to shore those spots up. And I think there'll be those of us who want to keep most of the system, but, you know, and I'm not even on board with propertarianism completely, if you want to know the truth. I'm open to it, as long as it's not racial or gender based, okay? If it's based, I don't even want it to be financially based. It shouldn't be the amount of money that your land's worth, but rather the square footage of the piece of property you own. Just take the entire United States continent and its territories and divide them up, right, by square footage. And the people who have a 1 square foot or 100,000 square foot should be able to vote. How's that? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many millions of acres you own. One landowner, one vote. Now, you could divide it up and make some votes more powerful. Give a person with more land more ability to control things. And, I mean, there's other methods than the method we're using to pick leaders and to make laws, is all I'm saying. You know, the judicial system. One of the things that people on the far right want to do away with is judges and lawyers and courts, right? They want to make it more common sense based. You know, jury of your peers, right? Without activist judges controlling and manipulating things. Sentencing guidelines, you know, maybe the 2 lawyers, both of them employed by the state, one arguing for and one arguing against. I don't know. We need to look at things like this. The judicial system as we have it has given birth to these problems, the current unpleasantness, as it were. Because, you know, the way the police are structured under the local leadership of a mayor, all it takes is a Bolshevik mayor to get elected to a town, and they can just burn it to the ground, just like they're doing in Seattle. They can turn it into a Chaz zone. They can defy the will of the people if they get into that position. So the structure of leadership, the structure of laws, the way laws are passed, who gets to decide that, all of that is up for grabs in the restructuring of a new republic. And so for those of you that are probably too old to do most of the fighting, and if you get lucky enough, blessed enough, appointed by God enough to survive through this attempted takeover, to be sitting at the table making decisions on what this is going to look like in the future, you better start thinking about it now. That if you think, well, we'll figure it out when we win, that's how things go south real fast. That's what dictators are made out of. If we the people, those of us who are fighting to preserve liberty and the pursuit of happiness, do not have a plan in place, and we can't just go back to the old plan, because the old plan gave a safe place for revolutionaries to activate and take over our country. We've got to go back and really shore up things like freedom of speech, clear up the amendments, the Bill of Rights, so that it's more articulated and more precise and less vague and less open for interpretation. Judges will have to be severely overseen that they stick to the new Constitution. I guess that's what we're talking about: a new Constitution, a new Bill of Rights, a new structure, a new court system, new policing. This is all going to happen no matter who wins. And I don't think we're ever going to go back to this broken system, because it's breeding the insurrection. It's given birth to this Bolshevik, communist, Marxist revolution. And so no matter who wins, we can't go back. If the other side wins, they're gonna be like, oh, the old system gave birth to the patriarchy and the fascists and the Nazis in our country. So no matter who wins this coming fight, and the fight, make no doubt about it, we're in it. We are in it now. And no matter who wins, there's going to be a completely different structure. There's going to be some major changes. There's going to be either a new People's Republic, right, or a new constitutional republic. But America as we know it is gone. So God bless the new republic. May He guide our hands in this future endeavor as the pages of history unfold before us. God bless the new republic.